All right, here I am out here today setting up for family movie night. And I absolutely love outdoor family movie night because, well, it's just great to spend some time with the family. But tonight's gonna be even more special because I got this, the Xgimi MoGo 2. Now, it may not look like much, but this thing is actually the first portable projector that I know of that cares about color quality and sound quality. And that could make a huge difference on family movie night. How much? Let's find out. This is the new Xgimi portable projector. It's called the MoGo 2, and I'm actually really impressed with this because this checks off all the boxes that I'm looking for in a portable projector. What are those? Well, quite simple. It needs to be small, lightweight, and compact. This literally fits in the palm of my hand and weighs under 2.5 pounds. But it also needs to be easy to set up. Needs to be able to have access to your media fairly easily so that you can get it on there. It needs to be portable in the aspect of powering it. It needs to sound good. In my opinion, it also needs to have a good image quality. Believe it or not, Xgimi checks off all of those boxes. Let me go ahead and show you why that is. One of the things that Xgimi is really good at is ease of setup. They have an intelligent system on here, and if you take a look right down here, you're gonna see this little auto keystone camera. What this does, it projects an image right on the screen, and not only does it keystone it, like you can actually move this pretty much off to the side anywhere you want. So you can literally move this out of the way, left, right, whatever, and it's gonna automatically put the picture right on the screen and then adjust it to the screen size. It's gonna auto focus it, it's gonna auto zoom it so that it fits the screen perfectly, and then it's gonna auto keystone all those corners. It's pretty amazing, and it does a really good job. In fact, this has been the easiest projector that I've ever had to set up, and that's really important for a portable projector because you're always going to be moving it. Now, you're not always going to be watching it outside. Sometimes you're going to be watching this inside, like on a wall. This also has intelligent obstacle avoidance. Basically means that when you put this on the wall or wherever you're going, if there's an obstacle in the way on the wall, maybe a picture or something of that nature, it'll actually move the image over or shrink it down, whatever it needs to do to be able to avoid that obstacle. Basically, it takes all of the setup work out of your hands. Although I can't say all of it because depending on how much of a stickler you are, you might want to fine tune this, but it's as easy as pressing a button on the remote control after it sets it, and you can adjust it a little if you want to. Now, not only does it have that intelligent setup, but Xgimi has also gone through this and designed a brand new audio system for this. And it's important that I'm talking about audio because you guys know that I really care about audio and how it sounds. And I have never, ever talked about the audio system on a projector because they're junk and they're designed to do video and not audio. Until now, this Xgimi actually did a really good job at creating an audio system. Now, they use a DSP in there, and they use two 8-watt speakers along with a passive radiator to give you a nice full sound, and they call it 360-degree sound. I usually have it directly in front of me when I'm listening to it, and it projects around the sides and behind me. Now, the first time I listened to this upstairs in my theater room, which is a completely sealed room, I didn't hook up any of the speakers, just wanted to hear this, and I was amazed at how well this sounds. This sounds better than any projector I've ever heard, obviously, and any television that I've ever heard. In fact, I would probably equate it more to like a Bluetooth speaker or a sound bar, something like that. It's really good. And the one good thing is too, they didn't go cheap, and they really did a good job with the DSP, because when they did the DSP, I can turn this all the way up. I'm not getting any distortion out of it, and I'm getting all of the notes. So even those low, deep bass notes, I am not missing the content there. I'm not gonna say that it's giving you a subwoofer sound because that's just would be a lie. I mean, you know, it's only so big, but I gotta be honest, I have no issue listening to this, and I would be happy to watch an entire movie with this, any type of movie for that matter. Now, I did bring this outside, and I was concerned that it might not be loud enough for our family with the speakers, and I was wrong. It was absolutely fine for all of us. In fact, even my wife said that she was surprised at how well it sounded. Now, for those of you who aren't going to be using the internal speakers, this does have a Dolby Audio and HDMI ARC. Now, when we brought this outside, I typically have to hook up all those external speakers, which I didn't in this particular case, but I also need to bring out like a laptop or something to be able to input the information on here. Now this does have an HDMI port if you want to use it for something like a game system, but you don't need to be able to get video on it. In order to get video on it, you just turn this on and it has Android 11 built into it. That means you have access to all the App Store to be able to put on all your favorite apps like Disney Plus, Discovery Plus, Amazon Prime, Vudu, Plex, which is one of my favorites. Whatever you want, you have access to pretty much all the apps on Android. Now, there is one exception, which is Netflix. This isn't a Netflix certified device. Netflix is very sticky on that. However, they do have a way to download Netflix on it, and I did, and it works great. Now, you're not always going to be able to have Wi-Fi to be able to use like Netflix or something on this particular unit. So what do? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Android does have built-in Google Chromecast, and you can cast to it as long as you have an Android device. And that way you could use like your cell phone service versus like a Wi-Fi signal. So that is another option that you have. Now, if you're, an Apple only user, then no problem. You can just turn your Apple iPhone into like a wireless hotspot and connect to it that way. But it should be pretty easy to be able to get whatever video you want to be able to view on the screen. Now that we're talking about video, I think we should also talk about image quality, because image quality is really important. Because who really cares how easy it is to use if the image looks like junk, right? Well, Xgimi really surprised me on two fronts. You see, whenever a projector comes out, there's two things that people are looking for, and really only one thing. Most people are focused on pixel count, and they want to see the highest pixel density, and I can understand that. But if you get a high pixel density and the picture doesn't look good, it really doesn't matter how good the pixel density is. What Xgimi did is they did something a little bit different. They actually decided to make this a full 720p projector, so not as high a pixel count as some other projectors, but what they decided to do was focus on color accuracy and quality, and a much higher color gamut than you would typically get out of other projectors, meaning it can reproduce more colors, including HDR colors. So let me talk about what that means. You see, every film and every television show is shot with what we call D65. Now, D65 is color standard which videographers say is pure white. So anything above or below that would actually either have a blue or orange tint depending on what you're going for. Now, what Xgimi did is they calibrated this from the factory to have a D65, or basically a pure white. That's very important, because if your white is off, all of your other colors are going to be off with it. And so Xgimi has that set from the factory as a D65 white, and you can tell. Because as soon as I turned this on, I didn't do any calibration yet. Thing looked really good. You can see all the reflections in Lightning McQueen, which is something I don't remember ever seeing on a budget projector ever before. It is really impressive. And that's twofold. Not only because they have that pure white right, but because they have a much wider color gamut than what you would normally get out of any budget projector. Now, typically when we look at color gamuts, we're talking about Rec. 709, which has been a standard for quite a while for, just normal HD TV and things of that nature. SDR is what we call it. And budget projectors usually have a really hard time of even getting 100% of that. Not Xgimi. They actually get to 117% of Rec. 709 and 90% of the much wider color gamut of DCI P3. Means that you can get a lot brighter, more vibrant colors out of it. This is really important with HDR content. This does do HDR10. And when you turn HDR on and off on this projector, it makes a huge difference on HDR content. So that means like if you play something with HDR content, you're gonna get a lot more bright and vibrant colors out of this projector than you would a normal budget projector. And boy, does it show. Now, I wanted to know exactly how accurate this was out of the box, because I was actually really blown away with the picture already. And I did do some calibration on this, and I'll put those calibration settings down below, but I mean, you should take a look at these. Guys, let's look at the calibration settings, and this is really impressive. So this is the gamma output. Now, I always shoot for a 2.2 gamma output. did take some before measurements, which is the red line. The after measurements is the blue line, and the target, of course, is going to be the gray line. Now, we're going to look at the gamma. The gamma is basically the separations between white and black at the intensity levels of 10 to 100% in 10% increments. Now, here's the deal. This did really good. And I don't care if it's even before or after. It actually did a really good job. If we take a look at the before, we had a mean of 1.89, meaning that's about the average of what we were going for. And like I said, we were typically going for 2.22. Have you noticed a lot of them were hovering right around 2.22 until you get to your brighter scenes. At those scenes, it was brightening up a little. Some people might like that because it gets a little bit more brightness in the screen. But I did want to calibrate it and see how close to that target curve I could get. And I mean, I almost got it spot on. If you take a look at these, almost all these are hovering right at 2.22. And the mean is 2.22, which is, I mean, it's just almost perfect. And honestly, the best I've ever seen a budget projector do, and a lot better than a lot of higher end projectors as well that I've reviewed. So this is actually very good gamma output. They did a great job with this. Now, if we take a look at the grayscale, this is shown in an RGB chart. I went ahead and adjusted the RGB. You can do that on this projector. We got everything in within plus or minus 3%, all the way from 20% to 100% intensity. Now, that's really good because we want this to be somewhere between plus or minus 4%. And if we look at even the mean, everything is right there in the mean of plus or minus 4%. Now, the last thing that we want to look at is the color checker skin tones. That's because our eyes are very sensitive to skin tones, and skin tones being off just look silly. Whether it be skin tones looking too red or too orange or too green, you can tell that and you pick it up really quickly. Now, this is going to be shown by a delta error. Delta error ranges from 0 to 100. Anything 3 and under, the average person cannot visibly see a difference. Now, this particular delta error, after calibration for all of the skin tones combined, mean average is 3.5. Basically, the average person cannot tell a difference. The skin tones are going to look perfect on this, which is great. Now, before, it was about a 7.2, and honestly, that's still really good out of the box, and that's probably why I was enjoying the color right out of the box. It was actually pretty good. I did read 87% of DCI-P3 versus 90%. However, you got to understand that with a projector, the screen, the room, all kinds of things can make a difference with that, and is well within the acceptable range of error between 87 and 90%. Now, another thing that I really love about this is that it's a DLP projector. So instead of being like an LCD projector, which can't get really deep dark blacks, this is a DLP projector. So not only does it have the D65 white, but now we add in the DLP, which can get you much better, deeper, darker blacks. And it's kind of the best of both worlds, which is why we were able to get such good gamma and color out of it. And you can really tell when you're watching the movies, it doesn't look washed out like some of the other projectors that I've seen in the past. I'm really blown away with how good this color is. In fact, out of all the budget projectors, this has the best one that I have ever seen out of any of them. And the fact that it's portable is just mind-boggling to me. Now, there's one thing that we have not talked about with portable projectors, and that's how do you power it? Now, there used to be a lot of portable projectors that actually had a battery pack built into these. I don't like that. A lot of them wouldn't even last the whole movie, and if they didn't, you'd have to recharge the projector before you could finish the movie. It just didn't make sense. And then if anything happens to the battery, you were an issue then as well. What Xgimi did is they actually have a USB-C port on the back. Now, you can plug up like a normal adapter and plug it right into the wall, but if you want to take this really off grid where you don't have any electricity, they actually allow you to plug up a USB-C battery pack to it. Now, 65 watt is what they recommend, but you just go ahead and plug up a battery pack to it. I like this idea much better because then you can do multiple battery packs depending on how long you plan to be out there. Maybe you want to make it a marathon and do 2, 3, 4 movies or whatever. We'll just get a couple battery packs and recharge them and go ahead and throw them on here. When one dies, go ahead and replace it. That seems to be a much better option to me than having to worry about continuing to charge up your projector. So I like that idea. Now, another cool thing that Xgimi did that is really neat is if you take a look at the bottom of this, this actually has a spot where you can plug it up to like a tripod. And they have something coming out in July, which I think is really cool. It's called the Freestyle stand. It's not out yet, but you'll be able to connect this to the Freestyle stand, and instead of projecting it straight forward, you can actually project it onto the ceiling, which allows you to have a really cool movie night with your family. At least I'm looking forward to that. Now, I've reviewed quite a few projectors, and I always say, well, I think this one's gonna be my next movie night projector or whatever. Now, this is only 720p, but I'm gonna tell you this, the color correctness and the color gamut, how wide of colors, a range of colors it can actually reproduce, has impressed me so much that this is going to be the one that I'm going to be using outside, hands down. I would love to see Xgimi come out with another one that has the same color quality correctness that this has on it in a 1080p or even a 4K. If they did that, it would be like the home run for me. If they could come out with a 4K that has the D65 at 90% DCI-P3 or even 100% DCI-P3, wow. I mean, that would be awesome. As is, for $400 right now, I don't think that you could go wrong with it as long as you understand what you're getting for it. And hopefully this video did just that. All right, guys, this is Toy Studio Audio. Listen, if you like this video, can you do me a favor? Just give it a thumbs up. And also, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. That just allows you to get instant notifications so you can find out when new videos are coming out. I really appreciate all of you guys, and I hope that you guys have a great night. It's Toy Studio Audio, and I'm out.